Hi, everyone. We will get started in a minute. I'm just going to let folks come into the meeting. All right, Berta, are you ready to start with me? All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for tonight's meeting about the Whyte's Laundromat site.
Buenas noches. Gracias por unirse a nosotros en esta reunión de esta noche sobre la lavandería Whyte, la limpieza de la lavandería Whyte.
This presentation is being recorded and will be shared and available publicly after the meeting is over.
Esta reunión está siendo grabada y luego va a ser compartida luego al finalizar la reunión en la página web.
This meeting is in English and Spanish. Sorry, go ahead, Berta.
Esta reunión es en español y en inglés.
Is there anyone present who would like to receive Spanish interpretation?
¿Hay alguien en esta reunión que desearía tener interpretación al español?
Okay. I'm not seeing anyone asking for Spanish in the chat or unmuting themselves. We'll ask again in a few minutes if more people join. Sorry, go ahead, Berta.
No veo a nadie todavía en el chat diciendo que necesita el español, pero voy a repetir este mensaje más adelante en la reunión.
Thank you. And the plan is to make this available in Spanish afterwards, if other folks would like to review this content later.
El objetivo es compartir esta reunión, el contenido de esta reunión más adelante en una grabación para que las personas puedan tener acceso a ella.
Great, thank you. So welcome everybody and thank you for joining us. I'm Lauren Drago, the Associate Planner for the City of Lynn, and I am joined this evening by Valerie Vong in the Mayor's Office and Bill Bachnack and Justin De La Cruz from EDIC Lynn. And we are pleased to discuss the proposed cleanup of the Whyte's Laundromat site, 83 Willow Street. The city and EDIC Lynn were recently awarded a $500,000 4-year EPA Brownfields cleanup grant for this site. And with our qualified environmental professional, or QEP, Verdantis, we will be walking you through the cleanup process. And we will be taking questions at the end of the presentation.
Good evening. My name is Tracy Costa, and I am joined by my colleague, Dan Curran. I will be serving as a licensed site professional and Dan as the project manager for the cleanup project. Today starts the 30-day public comment period for the draft analysis of Brownfields cleanup alternatives, or ABCA.
At this time, I'm going to ask once more if anyone here would like Spanish interpretation. If no one would like Spanish interpretation, I think we would be all set, Berta, and we'll follow up to provide this information in Spanish at a later time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Tracy, feel free to go ahead with slide 2.
Okay, so here are some before and after photos of the 0.34 acre property at 83 Willow Street, which was a dry cleaner and laundry from the 1930s to the 1990s. The building was demolished and left behind a large hole since the property was not backfilled. Due to historic storage practices and suspected spills, releases of chlorinated solvents associated with dry cleaning and petroleum associated with heating oil were reported to the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, or Mass DEP, in 2002 and 2016.
Sorry, rookie mistake. The city has been proactive about transforming the Whyte's laundry property into a positive community asset. This started with the acquisition of the property as a tax taking in 2016. And since then, we've applied for multiple state and federal grants since 2018 to assess contaminant impacts, conduct cleanup activities, and gather feedback about the possible future reuse of the site. The surrounding neighborhood is a diverse mix of development. It includes the city's multi-service center, My Brother's Table, and supports some of our most vulnerable residents. We also have the post office and the auto repair facility on either side of the site, and a parking lot across the street. Diagonally across the street is a new residential and commercial development, reflecting some of the opportunities for site reuse in this neighborhood.
A wide range of investigations have been conducted over the last 30 years to assess the contaminant impacts. These assessment activities have included drilling to collect soil samples, installation of monitoring wells to collect groundwater samples, along with additional surveys. The city performed a bench scale treatability study to evaluate or test several remedial additives for their effectiveness in remediating contaminant impacts. As we mentioned at the start, the city has recently won a $500,000 EPA cleanup grant to further clean up on the site. We are also, as a team, grateful to the EPA for committing additional targeted brownfields assessment funding to support the cleanup grant. EPA's contractor will support the team by installing new groundwater monitoring wells beyond the site property and performing baseline or pre-remediation and post-remediation sampling over the next 3 years. This will help our cleanup grant be even more effective. Here are two cross sections that depict the remedial approach. The left graphic shows active remedial approach, where a remedial agent is
I'm sorry,
injected.
I think we're on the wrong slide here.
Oh,
There it is.
there we are. So here are two cross sections that depict the remedial approach. The left graphic shows active remedial approach, where a remedial agent is injected into the subsurface under a carefully prescribed program which is monitored. The injections are expected to be conducted over 2 separate phases in 2025 and 2026. Groundwater performance monitoring will be conducted after each injection event. On the right is a permeable reactive barrier, or a PRB, which is a quote-unquote passive remedial approach with application of a wall of zero valent iron, or ZVI, in emulsified vegetable oil. As groundwater flows through the PRB, contaminant concentrations and the plume size are anticipated to decrease for a number of years. Next slide. Overall health and safety are paramount for site workers and the community. The city is working with Mass DEP to fund a fenced enclosure to secure the Whyte's property. All activities will be conducted under city permits and proposed drilling and injection locations will be pre-cleared. Chemical agents will be secured in locked containers with police and fire department notifications. All site workers will be OSHA HAZWOPER certified.
Thank you for all of that, Tracy. So this is a project that will continue over the next few years, but transparency is a big priority for us moving forward. So there are many ways that you can stay involved or get more information about this site. First, note that the Mass DEP and state's Executive Office of Energy and Affairs maintain online repositories. Valerie has included a link for that in the chat. You can also visit our project page at any time for all the reports, documents, and updates in English and Spanish. That's linandcommon.com/Whytes-Laundromat. And the site contacts are myself, or you can reach out directly to Tracy, our QEP representative from Verdantis. In addition, you are welcome to sign up for the monthly emails from the planning department. Valerie will put that link in the chat. We'll be sharing important milestones and any meetings like this in that format. And finally, if you're interested in following along more closely with the Whyte's cleanup, we encourage you to reach out to me directly about joining the Whyte's Cleanup Committee. We'd be happy to have you. The plan is to do quarterly meetings to share updates about our progress as the project continues. So if you're interested in that, email me directly at the email address Valerie put in the chat. At this point, we are happy to take any questions from the audience. Feel free to put them in the chat or to raise your hand or unmute, depending on what you feel most comfortable with.
Hi.
Hi, Calvin. Go ahead.
Oh, hi, Lauren. Yeah, well, I attended a couple of these meetings in the past, and it was encouraging because my colleague and friend, Dr. J.J. Judkins, a chemist, was there, and he said, yes, they're getting purple back, and that's good, and the litmus test or whatever. But I was expecting a little bit more in this meeting. It sounds like you're just telling us what you were about to do, and now it's already done and going into another phase. But when are we going to start talking about the redevelopment? Because I have some input in that. I know something about pocket parks, and I just want to weigh in. And I know Councilor Jakutis was interested in what she says a dog park, but I guess that always means a sort of an off-leash fenced-in area. And I did a recon mission around there, took pictures and walked around, and the site's a lot bigger than I thought it was. When you drive by, you don't know, especially when you include that little paper street that's behind it that I guess used to serve something. So, but I see two triangles, one sort of a traditional passive park, and I'm just saying, I'm old enough to remember People's Park in Berkeley, California, and I'm just saying with what the population that is already in the neighborhood sort of centered across the street and around the corner, it would be nice to have a pocket park with them in mind, some comfortable benches, etc., open for security, but like will find like, and I'm just suggesting that that be the type of thing they look at. It's going to be a neighborhood park, but just because of where it is, the reality is there's going to be a certain demographic that goes there. So let's kind of look at it from that standpoint.
Yeah, that's a great point, Calvin.
Public place to wash hands, things like that. I'm just throwing that out.
Yeah, absolutely. We did do a little bit of visioning work with the community a couple of years ago, and park was definitely, open space in general was one of the priorities that came through. Housing was another one that came through pretty loud and clear as well. In addition to some ideas around like workforce development, commercial space, things like that. part of what that study looked at was whether if you ended up having other sites that were interested in redeveloping at the same time as a part of this project, that maybe you'd have some efficiencies and some opportunity to do a little bit more. But where we are in the process right now is that we need to do a little bit more cleanup on the site. And at some point, we're going to need to backfill it. As you know, if you've done recon on this site, it's kind of like a swimming pool right now, which isn't ideal
Yeah,
for
there's actually a
either
shallow
park
end and
or
a deeper end.
development. Yeah. And so the goal is that eventually through this process, we would get to a point, we really want to have the site ready for something better by the time that we're done with the work that we're doing with this grant. Tracy,
Well,
do you have anything to add to that?
I just want to weigh in on keeping it as a pocket park, dual purpose with Councilor Chakoudas' vision of a dog park too. And
Yes.
if you diagonally draw a line, you'll see there's ample room for both and it's kind of suitable situation. Anyway, keep doing what you're doing. We've got to clean these brownfields up.
Yes, thank you
And
so much. Calvin.
Yes, just to respond, Mr. Anderson, to your first comment, we haven't started the cleanup. So there is a document that is again referred to the analysis of brownfields cleanup alternatives, or the ABCA. That's available in Lauren's office and also in the EDIC office. And again, this starts a 30-day public comment period. So we certainly invite you to review that document and to provide input. So the cleanup has not started yet. So again, part of your input is very important.
My question is,
planner.
where does the end product go? I understand it's going to be handled under protocols, et cetera. And I'm leaving that up to the experts. I don't know anything about this. That's why we pay you the big bucks. But where's it going to end up?
So certainly the injection.
What kind of landfill is suitable for this?
Oh, so we're not excavating or disturbing any of the soils. So it really is chemical agent injections into the ground or into the subsurface.
Then you bury it and cap it.
Yes. So the plan is, again, we're injecting into the subsurface. We monitor those injections. So we monitor groundwater to see really how far that remedial agent is going. And what's important to us is that there is contact with the contamination in the subsurface with both groundwater and soil.
Are you also looking across down, because I keep hearing about the parking lot that used to serve Anthony's restaurant might be impacted? Or
Absolutely.
Affected as well.
No, absolutely. So certainly part of this program is we do understand that what we call the disposal site, or where contamination has come to be located, doesn't encompass a number of properties, including that parking lot across the street. So we will be communicating with that property owner along with others that we refer to as being down gradient of the site. So within the groundwater plume.
Cool. Anyway, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
We have another question in the chat that I will pass to you, Tracy. What additional construction measures will be taken to ensure that dust and other contaminants do not affect nearby air quality, as this is a dense neighborhood?
No, absolutely. So we don't, again, this is the second round of remedial injections, and we don't anticipate that there will be any generation of dust. Certainly, the only time dust could be generated is with some construction equipment. But if that is the case, if it is a dry time of the year, we will certainly provide some, dust mitigation by applying a water mist. Beyond that, in terms of other contaminants that are impacting indoor air or also ambient air, again, we don't anticipate as part of the remedial injections, but we are required under the Mass DEP to do really stringent monitoring as we're performing the injections and also subsequent to. And we also mentioned that we'll be performing baseline sampling to really fully understand the groundwater conditions at the site before we perform those injections. I think we have another question about, can the plan be posted online?
Yes, it is I will type in the address for you. That is the site where we will be posting the information. And then if you want to review it in person, you can go to EDIC Lynn as well, Laura. And we'll
Thanks.
continue.
I just heard that it was at your office in EDIC, and I thought in 2024, did I have to go over? But thank you. Thank you.
And we'll be posting all of the documents that we generate to that website and sharing updates there. So. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, as I said, the plan is that we will post this recorded video to YouTube and to the same portal. We'll also be recording the same information in Spanish. We hope that this provides a context to the site moving forward so that people can come back to this and use it as a resource. And again, if anyone is interested in participating in more frequent meetings about this site, perhaps quarterly, feel free to email me directly, and I'm happy to share information about the Brownfields Committee as we get that going. So otherwise, thank you so much. I will stay on if anyone would like to chat, but otherwise I'm going to stop the recording. And thank you so much for joining us tonight, everybody.
Thank you.
Lauren, I have a question.
Yeah.
What would the quarterly meetings consist of? Like, what are some of the topic points or like ways to get more engaged look like?
Yeah, I think right now our plan is that it would be more about sharing updates for this grant over the next 4 years. To be honest, I'm thinking this would be like a really good fit for people who own properties or are engaged in work in the direct neighborhood, who might just want to know about how the cleanup is going, hear a little bit more from the experts as we get data. So that's kind of how we're envisioning it at this point.
Great, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, well, that was a pretty quick meeting, guys. It's funny when you have a script, things go really quickly. So thank you, Verdantis. I'm going to close out the link at this point, but we'll talk about next steps soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Have a good night.
Bye.